What happens when a self-made diner chain owner grabs a rag, goes undercover, and hears his own staff laughing about the customers who keep his business alive? Darren Sloane built his diner chain from a single greasy spoon in a forgotten corner of Ohio. 14 diners later, he had a loyal customer base. A strong team, at least he thought, and a reputation for affordable, honest food. But lately, that reputation was slipping. He'd been getting vague complaints. Not about the food. Not even about cleanliness. But about vibes. Cold service. Passive aggression. Some regulars had stopped showing up. Others felt looked down on. Darren didn't like vague. He wanted answers not filtered through a district manager. Not in a spreadsheet. Raw and real. So he came up with a plan. The diner in Jefferson was the 4th location he opened, but with recent staff turnover and a new manager, it had been on his radar. He'd never met the new faces there, and since none of them had ever seen him up close, he'd only done video calls with the district heads. He had the perfect excuse to walk in unnoticed. He shaved his beard, dyed the gray out of his hair, and left the suit at home. A faded hoodie, some work boots, and a name tag that read Rick Trainee. The cover story was simple. He was a temp trainee filling in due to a staffing shortfall. The Jefferson location had lost 2 servers in the same week. One moved out of state. The other quit after a kitchen blow-up. They were short-staffed, stressed, and running lean. Darren walked in at 6:30 a.m. sharp. New guy. The manager, Craig, didn't even look up from the tablet in his hand. Yeah, Rick. Sent by corporate while you guys hire. Craig grunted, waved him toward a waitress. Tanya'll show you what to do. Just stay out of the way. Tanya was in her early 20s, hair tied back, sharp eyes. She gave him a once-over. You ever bust tables? I can figure it out, Darren said. Hope so, she muttered. This place runs like hell on Sundays. He spent the whole morning cleaning tables, refilling coffee, running plates. It was hot, loud, and nonstop. He liked it. He missed the grind. But he also noticed things. Tanya worked hard, but she was sharp-tongued with customers. Another waitress, Amber, rolled her eyes constantly and disappeared into the back every 10 minutes. The cook, Joe, barked at the servers like they were dogs. No one smiled unless a manager was nearby. By noon, the diner was packed. A young mother with 2 kids asked for extra napkins and ketchup. Amber leaned in toward Tanya, just loud enough for Darren to hear. God, another one of those cheap families. Bet her entire bill's under $20 and she expects a 4-star experience. Tanya laughed. She'll tip 75 cents and act like she's doing us a favor. Darren froze mid-wipe. The woman was sitting just 10 feet away. She looked tired but kind. Her kids were well-behaved, and she hadn't heard the comment but Darren had. Another table nearby, an older man, asked for a refill. Amber muttered again. Refill? You're nursing a $2 coffee for an hour, dude. Get a clue. Darren's jaw clenched. He kept wiping the table, trying to stay calm. He needed to see more. Later, in the break room, he saw the manager, Craig, scrolling on his phone. Tanya walked in. Hey, we've got a family at table 3 asking about the kids' menu again, she said. Want to deal with them? Craig snorted. Tell them it's on the back of the menu. If they can't read, that's not my problem. Also, Tanya added, Rick kinda just stands around. You sure he's not, like, slow or something? Craig looked up. He's a trainee. Probably some guy from a temp agency who couldn't hack it anywhere else. Just tell him to clean tables and stay out of your way. Darren stood just outside the door, holding a tray. His face burned, but he didn't walk in. Not yet. He needed to know who was part of the problem and who wasn't. At closing, he watched a dishwasher named Miguel stay behind. Miguel was maybe 19, quiet, head down all day. But now he was scrubbing the kitchen floor, even though his shift ended 30 minutes ago. "Why re you still here?" Darren asked. Miguel shrugged. "No one else does it. If I don't, it smells bad the next day. Customers notice." "You don't get paid extra for that?" "No. But it's your name on the place, right? Or whoever owns it. People come here for comfort food. You can't have sticky floors and expect them to come back." Darren looked at him. "You always think like that?" Miguel gave a small smile. "My mom raised me that way. Do it right or don't do it." Darren nodded slowly. He had seen enough. The fake name tag came off the second he stepped into his car that night. Tomorrow, Rick wouldn't be coming in, but Darren Sloane would. Darren arrived at the Jefferson Diner the next morning just after 7. This time not in work boots and a hoodie, but in a navy button-down and jeans. Clean-shaven, rested, and carrying a hard truth in his pocket. The morning rush was already building. A couple of regulars were seated near the window. The same mother from yesterday sat with her kids at the booth near the soda machine, peeling the wrapper off a straw. Darren watched her from the doorway for a second. He wondered what she'd think if she knew what had been said about her. She smiled gently at her daughter, then reached into her purse for a coupon. He stepped inside. Amber was behind the counter. She glanced toward him, didn't recognize him. Tanya walked by with a tray, gave him a polite nod, then did a double take. Her pace slowed. Darren didn't say a word. He just walked past them, through the swinging kitchen door, and into Craig's office. Craig was leaning back in his chair, sipping coffee from a styrofoam cup, one leg propped on the desk. He looked up, annoyed. "Sir, this area's for staff only." Darren shut the door behind him. "I know. I own it." Craig lowered his cup slowly. "What?" "I'm Darren Sloane, and you've been managing my diner like it's a punishment." Craig blinked, hesitated. "Wait, Rick, you're—" Darren didn't give him room to recover. "You're not going to talk your way out of this. I heard everything yesterday. The way you talk about customers. The way you let your team treat people. You've turned this place into something ugly, and I won't stand for it." Craig stood up, his voice rising slightly. "Hold on. I didn't know who you were. I thought you were a temp." "That doesn't change a thing," Darren said. "You didn't just fail to lead, you encouraged the worst kind of culture. You let your staff mock customers in front of other guests. You ignored your responsibilities. You made decent employees feel like they were drowning." Craig opened his mouth, then shut it. "You're done here," Darren said. "Pack your things." Craig didn't argue. He looked down, face drained of color, then reached for his keys on the desk. Darren walked out, past the kitchen, and into the dining room. He caught Tanya near the coffee station. "Can I speak with you?" he asked. She followed him to the side hallway near the break room. She looked nervous now, less defiant than the day before. "I'm Darren Sloane," he said. "I spent yesterday working under the name Rick. I've seen and heard more than enough." She didn't speak. "I'm not going to repeat what I heard. You know what you said." Tanya shifted her weight. "It's been rough lately. We're short-staffed, and no one listens when we ask for help. I shouldn't have said what I said. I was venting. Doesn't make it okay. I know that. Do you think customers would excuse it if they heard it? You think the mother sitting in booth 5 would feel safe bringing her children back here?" Tanya's eyes dropped. "No. You have a choice," Darren said. "I'm willing to give you one. You can stay under one condition. You work the rest of this week as a runner. No tips. No server section. You help, you learn, and you prove you can represent this place with respect. You want this job, you earn it back." She nodded almost immediately. "I will. I want to stay." "Then you've got a shot," Darren said. "But one more comment like yesterday, and you're out. No warnings." She nodded again. Amber was next. He found her near the POS terminal, tapping through orders. She looked up, confused at first, then her expression changed. "I'm the owner," Darren said calmly. "My name is Darren. You remember Rick?" She stepped back from the monitor. "Look, I didn't realize. I'm not interested in excuses," he said. "You've been gossiping about guests, insulting their appearance, and disappearing during peak hours. You've disrespected the people who pay your wages. You're done here. Leave your apron on the counter." Her jaw tightened. "You're firing me?" "Yes." She stared at him for a long second, then pulled the apron off, dropped it on the counter, and walked out without another word. The dining room had quieted. Tanya was back at her station, keeping her head down. Darren walked toward booth 5. "Excuse me," he said to the woman there. "I'm the owner here. I just wanted to thank you for coming in again today." She looked surprised. "Oh, thank you. We come here a lot. My kids love the pancakes." Darren smiled. "Well, I hope we treat you the way you deserve to be treated. If we ever fall short, please let me know directly." She nodded, still a bit puzzled but appreciative. As the lunchtime crowd began to trickle in, Darren stepped back into the kitchen. Joe, the cook, was plating a burger. He glanced up. "You're the owner?" "Yeah," Darren said. "And you're the one who's been barking at waitstaff like they're disposable." Joe raised an eyebrow. "Kitchen's chaos. You either give orders or get buried." "That's not how we operate," Darren said. "You can be direct without being demeaning. I need someone back here who can lead under pressure, not explode under it." Joe exhaled. "The line's been understaffed for weeks. We've been pulling doubles. No one shows up to interviews. I get it, but you're not going to solve burnout by burning everyone else out. Starting tomorrow, I'm sending another line cook your way from the Canton location. You'll train them, you'll split the shifts, and you'll talk to people like they matter. If you can't do that, say so now." Joe paused, then gave a small nod. "Fair enough." Before heading back to his car, Darren found Miguel in the back, unloading produce from a delivery truck. "You're staying late every day," Darren said. "Why?" Miguel looked startled. I just do what needs doing." "You're not paid for it." Miguel hesitated. "I don't do it for money. Just feels wrong to leave things half done." Darren nodded. "You've got more integrity in one shift than I've seen from entire teams. Starting next week, you're lead dishwasher. Full-time, better pay. And I want you to train new hires because I want them to learn the right way." Miguel looked stunned. "Really? You earned it." By the time Darren got back to his office in Cleveland, he'd already sent a meeting invite for his district managers. No assistants, no prep slides. Just one agenda item. How many good workers have we lost because no one listened? He wasn't going to run his business from spreadsheets anymore. Darren had spent years building something that mattered to people. A place where families could sit down for a meal without being judged. Where workers could take pride in wiping a counter clean, not feel invisible doing it. And now, he would rebuild the culture with the same hands that had once scrubbed grease off a flat-top grill at 3 in the morning. One diner at a time. Darren returned to the Jefferson Diner at sunrise the next day, this time not to observe, but to lead. He stepped through the back entrance with a clipboard under his arm and a list of names in his pocket. The building still smelled faintly of bleach from the overnight mop job. The only sound was the low clatter of Miguel, already prepping the dish station. "You ever sleep?" Darren asked, setting the clipboard on the counter. Miguel looked up from uncrating silverware. "A few hours. I've got morning classes at the tech school after this." "You didn't mention school," Darren said, leaning on the metal shelf. "You didn't ask," Miguel replied, not with arrogance, but a shrug of fact. "I'm working toward getting into HVAC." Darren nodded slowly. Once you're certified, let me know. I've got 15 buildings that need someone reliable. Miguel's eyes flicked up, stunned for a moment, then returned to sorting forks. Darren left him to it. He walked through the kitchen and into the dining area. Tanya was already there, wiping down the booths, her apron tied tighter than the day before. She didn't look up when he passed, but he noticed the pace of her hands didn't slow. Darren stepped behind the counter. The morning shift hadn't started yet beyond Tanya and Miguel. Amber was gone. Craig was gone. But the atmosphere still held a tension like a room waiting for a verdict. He gathered the staff at 7:30 sharp. Tanya, Joe the cook, 2 part-time servers who hadn't worked the day before, and a teenage host named Mason. They stood in a loose semicircle near the soda machine, tired and unsure of what was coming. Darren didn't raise his voice. He didn't pace. He just looked at each one of them. "I'm not here to give a speech," he said. "I'm here to tell you what's going to change." He pulled a folded paper from his back pocket and held it up. "This is a survey. Anonymous. It's going to be handed out weekly. You'll write what's not working, what you need, and who's pulling their weight or not. If you lie on it, you're wasting your own time." No one spoke, but Mason took a small step forward, glancing at the paper like it might bite. "I'm not interested in running a place where people feel like they have to whisper when something's wrong," Darren continued. "You don't have to like each other, but you will respect each other. And you will respect every person who walks through that door." Joe crossed his arms. "And what if respect doesn't go both ways? Some customers come in here looking to pick a fight. You handle it calmly and cleanly," Darren said. "If it crosses a line, escalate it. But under no circumstances do you talk about people behind their backs while they're still seated in the room. That's finished." He didn't look at Tanya when he said it, but she shifted her weight slightly. Darren turned to Mason. "How long you been here?" 3 weeks, sir." "You like it?" Mason hesitated. "I like doing something different than school. But sometimes people snap at me. I'm just trying to seat tables." Darren nodded once. "You're not here to be anyone's punching bag. If that happens again, you tell me." He dismissed the group and stepped into the manager's office, where he sat for the next hour calling up schedules, checking hiring logs, and reviewing the previous manager's emails. The inbox was a mess: missed interview confirmations, unanswered vendor messages, and a string of ignored staff complaints going back nearly 2 months. One stood out. An email from a server named Carla, dated 4 weeks ago. She had raised concerns about Amber mocking customers and about Craig disregarding time-off requests for medical appointments. Carla had written that she felt punished for speaking up. Darren searched the staff list. Carla's name wasn't on it anymore. He called the number listed. A woman answered, voice wary. "Carla, this is Darren Sloane. I own the diner you used to work at in Jefferson." A long pause. "I'm not calling to argue," he said quickly. "I read your email. I'm sorry it wasn't handled. I'd like to talk, if you're open to it." She didn't hang up. That was something. They spoke for 5 minutes. She confirmed everything in the email. She'd worked there for over a year, never missed a shift, until Craig began cutting her hours after she raised concerns. She said she left because it felt like speaking up made me disposable. "I made a mistake," Darren said. "I trusted the wrong people to lead. I'm fixing that now. If you're willing, I'd like to offer you your job back. Same pay, better hours, and a clean slate." Another pause. Then, "I'll think about it." That was more than he expected. By 10:30, a new line cook, Reggie, arrived from the Canton location. He was in his late 30s, wore a bandana under his cap, and carried his own knives. "You Joe?" he asked, stepping into the kitchen. Joe nodded from the grill, flipping hash browns. "Guess we're splitting the line now," Reggie said. I heard you ran it solo for 2 weeks. That's rough. Joe didn't answer at first. Then, you any good with breakfast rush? Reggie grinned. I worked 3 years in a casino kitchen. I can plate eggs in my sleep. Joe handed him a spatula. Then let's see. Darren watched from the pass-through window for a moment. Joe didn't bark. Reggie didn't show off. They fell into rhythm fast, two men who'd worked enough chaos to know that timing beat ego every time. Out front, Tanya was on the floor but not serving. She was shadowing the part-time server, helping with drink refills and clearing plates. She didn't make eye contact with customers, but she didn't avoid them either. When a child dropped their fork, she bent to pick it up without hesitation and brought back 2 clean ones without being asked. Darren approached her as she came back from table 7. You doing okay? She nodded. It's harder when you're not the one taking the tips. That's the point. She didn't argue, just adjusted her tray and moved on. Later that afternoon, Darren stepped outside for 5 minutes. The day was unusually warm for late fall. He leaned against the dumpster enclosure, checked his messages, and returned a call from a vendor about a delayed shipment. As he turned to head back inside, he noticed something across the lot. A car idled near the curb, windows down. A man inside leaned out, flicking cigarette ash onto the pavement. He was speaking to someone standing outside the passenger door. Mason. Darren walked across the lot, slow but steady. As he got closer, he heard it. Come on, man. You don't need this job. You're too soft for food service anyway. It's a joke. Mason shifted uncomfortably. I'm working. Can we talk later? The man laughed. What, you think they care about you? You're seating people. That's not a real job. Darren stepped between them without warning. Is there a problem here? He asked the man in the car. The man blinked. Who are you? I own this diner, Darren said. And you're harassing one of my employees during his shift. Mason's eyes widened. I'm just talking to my cousin, the man said. Didn't know you were so protective of your hosts. I'm protective of anyone who shows up and does the work, Darren said. Move your car. Don't come back unless you're here to eat. And if I see you bothering staff again, I'll call the police. The man stared at him for a long moment, then shifted into drive and pulled away. Darren turned to Mason. You okay? Mason nodded. He doesn't get that I like working here. You don't owe him anything, Darren said. You're doing just fine. As they walked back inside, Darren realized that fixing a broken culture didn't just mean firing the loudest problem. It meant protecting the quiet ones. The ones who showed up without being asked, who didn't demand recognition, who just wanted to be treated like they mattered. The work wasn't done. Not even close. But for the first time in weeks, the Jefferson Diner didn't feel like it was sinking. It felt like it was waking up. The following week began without ceremony. No balloons, no banners, no dramatic announcements. Just the quiet hum of a place slowly being rebuilt from the inside out. Darren returned to the Jefferson Diner daily, arriving before sunrise and leaving long after the dinner crowd had thinned. He didn't hover, didn't bark orders, he worked. Some days he ran food. Other days he helped prep in the kitchen. He didn't need to be there, but he'd made a decision. If he was going to fix the culture, it would start with being visible. On Thursday afternoon, Carla walked through the door. She wore a plain blouse, hair pulled back, and carried a folded paper in her hand. Tanya, who was manning the host stand, paused for a second when she saw her. Carla looked past her. I'm here to speak with Darren. Tanya nodded once, then turned toward the dining room where Darren was refilling salt shakers at a booth. He looked up when he saw Carla. I'm glad you came. I'm not here for a second chance, she said. I just want to know if anything really changed. I wouldn't have asked you back if it hadn't, he said. I don't need a server. I need someone who has the guts to speak up when others stay quiet. Carla didn't respond right away. Then she held out the paper. "This is the schedule I was promised before I left. I still have a copy. If you can match it, I'll come back." Darren took the paper, glanced over it. "You'll have it by next week. I'll adjust the roster myself." She gave a short nod. "Then I'm in." The shift she returned to wasn't perfect. Tanya was still learning to keep her tone steady under pressure. Joe, though quieter, still had rough edges. But there was something different now, less defensiveness, more effort. Darren watched Carla rejoin the floor. She didn't ask for special treatment. She just picked up a tray and got to work, like she never left. That same day, Reggie pulled Darren aside in the hallway between the kitchen and the walk-in fridge. "You know the fryer's on borrowed time, right? How bad? Oil's not circulating evenly. Left baskets colder than the right by a good 20 degrees. Fries are coming out soft." Darren had heard enough. "Send me a list of what you need. New unit if that's what it takes." Reggie nodded. "You're serious? That fry basket feeds 1,000 people a week. It should work." With Carla back, Tanya moved off runner duty. She didn't ask for it, she earned it. Darren kept an eye on her tables from a distance. Her posture had changed. She didn't rush. She started using names when she brought checks, especially with families. She still had moments of friction. Change didn't erase personality, but she was trying. And trying mattered. One afternoon, Darren found Miguel outside behind the diner, eating lunch on an overturned milk crate. "You always eat back here?" Miguel looked up. "It's quiet. You're lead now. You should take breaks in the office if you want." Miguel shrugged. "The office feels like someone else's space." Darren leaned against the brick wall beside him. "You ever think about managing?" Miguel blinked. "This place. Not just this one. Long term. When you finish your program." Miguel hesitated. "I'm not the manager type. Leadership isn't about titles. It's about what people see when they watch you work." Miguel looked at the sandwich in his hand. "I just don't want to be the guy who forgets what it's like to mop." "Then you're already ahead of most." Darren stood to leave. "You've got time to figure it out. But when you're ready, we'll talk." That night, Darren stayed late. The last table left just after 10. He walked the floor alone, checking under booths for dropped napkins, straightening chairs, adjusting a crooked salt shaker. He stopped near the window and looked out across the parking lot, nearly empty now. Just a few cars left under the flickering lights. Behind him, Tanya approached, holding a folded slip of paper. "I wanted to give you this." He took it. A customer comment card, handwritten. "Table 9 filled this out," she said. "Said I made them feel like they were at home." Darren read it in silence. Kind words, simple ones. No flowery praise, just appreciation. "They've come in before," Tanya said. "I think I treated them like background noise last time." "You gave them a reason to come back," Darren said. "That's the job." She hesitated. "I know I've got more to prove." "You're doing it." She nodded once, then turned and headed toward the back. The next morning, Darren sat in the booth closest to the kitchen. The same table he'd wiped down as Rick, just a few days earlier. Now he was watching, not to catch mistakes, but to see what stuck. Mason worked the door, greeting people with a little more confidence in his voice. Carla moved through the floor with a rhythm that made the space feel balanced. Reggie and Joe had found a groove in the kitchen. Calls were clear, plates came out hot, and there was no shouting. Darren sipped his coffee, quietly. A man in a worn jacket came in and asked for a menu before sitting down. His shoes were frayed, his hands stained with something industrial. He took a seat at the counter. Tanya approached him without hesitation. "Welcome in. Coffee to start?" "Yes, ma'am." She poured it, set it down gently, and added, "If you're here for the breakfast special, I'll make sure the eggs are how you like them. He smiled, surprised by the warmth in her tone. Scrambled, if that's okay. You got it. Darren watched in silence. A few minutes later, she returned with his plate. Here you go. And don't worry about the refill, I've got you. The man looked down at the food, then back at her. Thank you. Tanya moved on without waiting for praise. Darren stood and walked outside. The fall air had cooled again, a light breeze picking up leaves across the lot. He took out his phone and opened a new message thread to his district managers. He typed, "We don't fix culture with memos. We fix it with attention. Visit your stores. Talk to dishwashers. Watch how people treat strangers. That's your real report." Then he hit send. He knew Jefferson wasn't perfect. There would be slip-ups, tension, turnover. But something irreversible had happened. The people who stayed wanted to stay. The people who returned had reasons to believe again. And the ones who left had made room for those who gave a damn. The culture wasn't fixed. It was being earned. Every day, plate by plate, word by word. And Darren Sloane would never stop watching.